8:46, welcome back. Divorce can be a very stressful event for many families. There are ways to ensure that it doesn't have to have a negative impact on your children, though. We've got the Parenting Center in. They're hosting a series of classes to help support parents in this situation, this tough situation. Got Katie Dilzell in this morning with the Parenting Center to fill us in. And it is a tough situation, particularly after parents make that decision, how to go about co-parenting.
Right. And look, it's a difficult thing to go through, but there are some things that you can do to be a more effective co-parent. The first is just to keep the focus where it belongs, and that is on the children. These parents recognize that it's not about them, it's not about the other parent, but it is about making decisions that are in the best interest of the child. It's also important for these parents to be consistent when it comes to things like rules, routines, expectations. They know they need to be on the same page for sure.
Something that we also see, unfortunately, when situations aren't necessarily the best, the child being placed in the center, so you'll hear something from one parent about the other. That can't be great.
Sure. And when it comes to communication, that's certainly a piece of it, that you don't want to use the child as the messenger to send messages back and forth. But also you want to be sure that you're having communication without conflict. And there's a few ways to do that. The first thing to decide is how you're going to communicate. You know, some parents like to text, some prefer email, others prefer to use a parenting app. And it really doesn't matter which one you choose, but just stick to the one so that you're not bouncing back and forth between multiple platforms. When you bounce back and forth, you're more likely to miss something or open yourself up for miscommunication. So that's a big deal. But also when you're communicating, you want to make sure that those messages themselves, they should be brief, they should be child-centered, and they should be respectful. That goes a long way for sure.
And in keeping with that idea of respect, Katie, let's back us up a little bit to the point where potentially parents do decide that this is where they are and it's best that they're no longer together. Some parents don't have a clear conversation with their children about what's going on. It might have caught them by surprise. How do we fix that? Well,
kids are going to need support throughout this process. And I think there's some messages that they need to hear repeatedly. And one is that your family is still a family, regardless of where everyone lives. Both parents still love you, and not to blame themselves. I know that seems obvious to the adults in the family, but kids do tend to blame themselves. So they need to know that it's not their fault. And then when it comes to those big changes that often accompany a separation or divorce, as much as possible, you want to make those changes one at a time. So for example, if you're going to be moving and your child is going to start a new school, make one change, give them some time for things to calm down before you make the next change. Get the kids involved when you can in the decision making.
And you all have a way to make that easier. We've got about 30 seconds left. Sure. Some classes that are coming up to help parents through the process.
Yes, we do have a co-parenting class that we offer every other month. The next one is February 4th, and we have some other classes that are on the screen, infant and child CPR and parenting for resilience.
Very important stuff, Katie. We always appreciate y'all coming on with these conversations because it does help you to be a better parent, also a better uncle if you're there on the sidelines watching. Right. So we do appreciate your insight, ma'am. Sure. And of course, we've got information for you to sign up to those classes if you'd like to on our website, WWLTV.com.